Hello, welcome to Rose Floral School, the show. It's hard to say, but it's fun to listen to. My name is Catherine. I am your host. I am going off script wildly. This is the show where we talk about your wedding floral design business, and we try to make it less stressful and more enjoyable. Oh my gosh. Um, anyway, it's fine. I'm just gonna keep going. It's literally been 20 seconds. I could stop this and start filming again, but I'm just gonna take a sip of this water and we're gonna keep going. Okay. All right, so today's episode is kind of a fun topic. It is what to do if a client requests something that you have never made before. Whew. So let's do it. What to do if a client requests something that you have never made? So I think it goes without saying, it depends on how extreme this is. If they're asking you to make, I don't know, something like you've never made, say you've made a flower crown, but you've never made a dog collar flower. I mean, they're pretty similar. So if it's similar enough to something you've made before, I guess that's the first point. Think of something else if there's anything else similar to what you're making and apply that technique. In that example, if you've made a flower crown, you know how to tape and wire, you know how to make a flower that's in a round thing that is worn. So do the same technique and put it on a collar, and now you've made a flower dog collar. So I guess the lesson there is to use the knowledge that you have and just see if you can reapply a technique in a different way. And honestly, that probably sounds pretty basic, but it actually is. That's like 99% of floral design, is just taking a technique and using it the same but slightly different. So that actually is a pretty good tip, because I think sometimes we look for this how-to video on every single little thing, and I used to do that. I used to be like, well, how do you make a flower thing on a greenery, like a false boxwood wall at a venue, and they want a floral piece on it. How do you do that? It's literally the same as an arbor piece. So you just attach it to the boxwood wall instead of the arbor. Like, come on, Catherine, hello. But that's kind of the things I used to do. So until I realized that you just reapply the same things everywhere. So that would be my first thing. Ask yourself if there's a technique or method that you already know that could be applied here. My second thing, I guess, also DM me, I'll tell you. Just DM me and leave me a 5-star review and I'll tell you anything. No, just kidding, kind of kidding. No, I'm serious, you can do that. But actually, that's also a good point. I feel like all my points are jokes, but then they are real points today. I'm a little slap happy. But that is valid too. See your community. So with floristry, I say this with a grain of salt, because you can't just ask somebody in your industry, in your area, how to make something unless you have a relationship with them. And your relationship with them should not be you asking them for help all the time. That's one-sided. So it needs to either be a legit personal relationship. You've met them, you know them, you knew them before you did flowers, like whatever it is, and they've maybe offered that to you, or you need to offer them something in return and they need to and if they don't want to tell you, you can't hold that against them. That's not their job. It's my job, so that's why I'm saying DM me, because that's what I do as a floral training instructor. But your local neighborhood other florist isn't that, so you can expect them to answer it too. But if you do have somebody that you have a relationship with, or that even is maybe at a similar level to you and you've been learning and growing together, bouncing ideas off each other, you could reach out to them. You could also reach out to different local groups, such as your Facebook page, Florists of Facebook. Before you ask a question in there too, my other tip is to look in the search bar. Search in your floristry Facebook group or whatever it is, and search roughly what you're trying to do, and there might be posts already in there instructing people how to do it. So that can be a good tip as well. Trying to think of what else. I guess those are all my tips as far as like asking somebody else for help. Like I said, be courteous. Whoever you ask for help, especially if it is like a peer or an associate or somebody else in your industry that you know or are acquaintances with, say thank you. I have had people ask me questions, and even if they're simple questions, I've had them ask me something. How did you do that? Or what is that? Or where did you get that? And I've answered because whatever, it takes 2 seconds. And again, especially now, I'm in the education space, so I'll answer your questions. That's what I'm here for. Don't be afraid. But at the time I wasn't, and I answered just because I'm not going to try to gatekeep, but also you could Google it. Like, just, if you can Google it, just Google it. Reverse image search is your friend. Just do that. But I answered because it's no big deal. I'm not trying to be a diva. But then to not even get a thank you back, but like a week later get another question, maybe does hit a little different. So make sure you're not that person. And I know we're all busy, but if I was able to answer your question, or anybody was able to answer your question, offer a thank you. At the very least. And if you're friends, if it's your BFF, I mean, I have flower friends that I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? Does this seem weird? Or like, what, whatever. And we'll just kind of shoot the breeze because we know each other, because we have a personal relationship and we're at that level. We're not just peers or associates or acquaintances. So use your discretion, don't be weird. Don't be entitled. It's no one's job to answer your questions. But you can use your discretion to ask the right people and get your questions answered that way. So all that to say that main point. So that's another avenue that you could do. Something else that I will say, and this, it all depends on what the thing is that they're asking you to make. How big it is, how extreme it is, how detailed it is. Let's talk about, I'm going to use an example because that's my best way to communicate a point. So say somebody wants those freestanding flower towers, like the big arched, I've heard it called a broken arch, a false arch, a floral hedge. You know what I mean. It's that flowery hedge thing. They kind of curve in together and they're just freestanding. So if you want to create something like that and you have no idea where to start, honestly, just think about the inner structure. So it has to have a base that's heavy. It has to have some kind of rigidness to it, but then also something looser to build your piece. Break it down into something smaller. It's basically an arbor piece, but on a base that stays rigid. So if you know how to make an arbor piece, which for me, I use a chicken wire base, hop in a bunch of greenery, and then sometimes I'll water 2 blooms in, or just put the blooms right in, depending. If you know how to do that, okay, so take that and just put it on some kind of base and some kind of rod. Walk through the hardware store, and if you can't just think of it off the top of your head, walking through the hardware store literally can be very enlightening, and see what supplies you can find. So for that example, what I do, and what I've done in the past at least, boom, umbrella stand, a piece of electrical conduit, get a bender. I didn't even know what electrical conduit was until somebody asked me to make those, and I don't even remember how this happened, but I'm trying to think how I even figured that out. I think I saw a video where somebody used electrical conduit to make like a arched metal sign holder. And I thought, ding, 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 I need this arched metal curved thing. What is that stuff? Electrical conduit? What? I went to Home Depot. I found this stuff. It's actually very affordable. I asked somebody how to bend it. They showed me this bender thing. I bought it. I own a conduit bender. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what conduit's actually used for. I guess the wires go through it. Who knows? But now I know how to bend conduit and suit it into my umbrella stand for my freestanding flower towers, and then put my chicken wire on there and build it just like an arch. So walking through the hardware store, or even just mentally break down what you're making into something that is more familiar. And then go through the hardware store to find some stuff, because sometimes you might need something and you don't know what it is, but you know the purpose it needs to serve. And you can't Google search you know, metal, not even metal, like base with a rod. Like, you can't search for it if you don't know what it is sometimes. I don't know if that makes sense. But when in doubt, stroll through the hardware store aisle and just look at stuff. And, you know, even if you're not like specifically trying to build something, just do it as like an exercise, just to look at different things and like different supplies that you might not even know exist because it's not for floristry, but it could be your perfect purpose. I mean, chicken wire itself is the perfect example. It's literally chicken wire. That's what it was invented for, and yet we use it as florists all the time, and it's like one of my number one tools. And if somebody, I don't even know who, somebody in the day, I don't know how long ago, 50 years ago, who knows, hadn't thought, oh, this would be a good structure to stabilize my stems, you know, we wouldn't be using it. So go through that hardware store, look around and get inspiration just in general anyway, so that you can try to like find different ways to solve these problems and find different ways to construct anything. So that would be another tip. I feel like I had another thought. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah, so then this would be I guess this might be my last point. I don't know yet. Maybe I'll jog another thought. But the other thing that I would suggest is going ahead and doing a little dry run. If you've been requested something you've never ever made, go ahead and try to make one. And it doesn't need to be beautiful. It doesn't need to be fancy. You could literally go out into some hedgerow and cut some old dry goldenrod and whatever wild daisies are growing that day and some branches off the tree. You don't have to go to wholesale and buy flowers, especially if, you know, your budgets are tight right now, especially if you're just starting. But go forage a bunch of stuff. You don't even need any flowers, depending on what it is. And do a test run, do a practice one. If they want some sort of like flowers attached to the back of a chair, you know, grab, I don't know, do a couple tests. Do some chicken wire, do an igloo, like a U-glue, or not U-glue, like an Oasis igloo. Try making a garland with it. Whatever it is, you can go out and forage and do a little test run. Test a few different styles, a couple different ways of doing it. If someone requested a pocket square boutonniere and you've never done that, get some of the supplies and make a practice one and see how it feels and see how it flows, see how long it takes you to make. You can always do a practice one, especially when you can forage stuff from whatever. If it's dried, if it's dead, I don't care. You can use that to practice and then just feel confident in that. I think another point too, I guess let me get this one thing first and then I'll get into a whole other section of this. Another thing though that I do want to mention is if you want to do like a practice piece, a test run, whatever, another great way to do that is for a styled shoot. So if you're doing a styled shoot and it's collaborative and it's open and you have design freedom, as you should, you can go ahead and make a piece that, you know, maybe you haven't made before, but make it for that styled shoot. And that can give you that space to test it and to play and to, you know, do kind of a practice run. All right, my dog just barged in, so if you hear her, sorry, but I'm not going to kick her out. We're just going to keep going. But anyway, so then I do want to touch on a few other things. So I think that's all of like what to do if they request something you've never made, as far as like figuring out how to make it. I also want to talk about what to do as far as like how to handle that with the client. And I don't know if there's like a clear one size fits all answer for this, because it does depend on what it is. If it's something like they want a long suspended floral cloud piece that's 8 feet long hanging over the dance floor of their tented venue or their venue building, but you don't know how to hang it or where to hang it or any of that, something like that I would say is on like the larger end of the requests that you might have. Something like that, you do need to be transparent. Oh, I've never done a hanging piece in that venue before or in that way before or whatever. Let me try to outline a quote for you, but maybe I'll have that separate from all of your other items. And I'll have to probably do a few more like back leg work things to, sort that out. But, as long as the venue allows it, depending on what structure things are there, what, cabling, or like if there's a hanging system or not, whatever, you can sort of leave that open-ended a little bit. And that's what I would say if it's something larger, something that you're not even sure you can do based on the venue constraints and stuff like that. So that would be one thing that I would suggest if it's something, I guess, more large scale. And with that, then of course you do that follow-up. So after you get off the call, you check in with the venue, see if they typically hang things, what they hang them from, what is allowed, what isn't allowed. Kind of do that legwork and then act accordingly. So if you can do it, fine, but now you know the constraints, you know what the parameters might be from the venue, so that you can quote and you can plan accordingly. Or if they're like, no, we don't allow anything to be hung, there's nothing there to hang it from, and we don't, whatever, you would need a lift if it's so high and they don't allow lifts, whatever it is, you'll know and you'll be able to go forward then. The other thing that you could do maybe is sort of say like, hey, I haven't done a piece like that in that venue before. Let me chat with them and see what could be possible. But you can always say like, if we can't do it way in the tippy top by those windows like you mentioned, maybe I can, see what would be possible and we can go from there. And then, like I said, maybe say they want it 20 feet in the air by a window, but there's no ladder and there's no lifts allowed and whatever. You can't do it. Maybe then you say, well, what if we did this piece in this entry doorway area underneath the loft or off of the loft or whatever? Maybe there's an alternative that you can offer that they would like. So that is sort of how to like tackle that with the client. If it's something, I don't know, if it's something a lot smaller, simpler, use your discretion. Like if they want a dog collar and you've never done a dog collar, but you've done a flower crown, you can even kind of chat through that with them too. Oh, okay, that sounds great. I love that idea. I've never done a dog collar piece before, but and you can always say, let me sort through some details and I'll let you know if I need anything else when I send your quote. And then you can get off the phone and sort of figure out the logistics. For the record, with dog collars, I typically, if they can bring me the collar ahead of time, I do like that so I can attach it. Or I'll just do it literally like a flower crown and wire it onto the collar when I get there. That's probably what I do more often, to be honest. And so, yeah, I would then say, oh, I can do the dog collar for you. You'll just want to have an actual collar that I can attach it onto and have the collar there ready off of the dog when I deliver so that, I can get it ready to go. We'll just put it right on and you'll be set. Something like that. So hopefully that is helpful. Once it gets into pricing and things like that, again, it varies so much depending on the thing. If it's a huge, giant thing that you've never done, I typically like to try to break it down by foot. Like if you're doing a big suspended floral cloud, look at each foot to try to, figure out how many, say it's going to be a baby's breath cloud with white roses, just to be simple. Look at each foot and, once you've used baby's breath bunches for a while, you can kind of eyeball estimate how many bunches per foot and then just multiply it and do the same with your roses. If it's something you've never, ever done before, you're really not sure, add some extra just to be safe. And make sure if it's something that's like all sides are covered versus just the front, just the back, whatever it is, make sure that you plan for that too and do your math accordingly. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. I feel like that was probably a lot of food for thought. Please message me if you have any questions, if you want to chat through anything. Let me know what the requests are that you've gotten, that you've been like, whoa, I never got this before. Like, I want to hear it. I want to talk about it. I want to know how you tackled it, or if it happened and you haven't tackled it yet, let's talk about that. So please DM me on Instagram. It's at rose.floral.school. If you would like to leave a 5-star review, leave me good things, feel free. Go ahead. I'm not going to ramble on forever, but I will just tell you to have a good day, and we will talk to you again next time. Bye!